You are likely paying over $100 a month to Hootsuite or Buffer for a tool that operates as a glorified cron job pushing JSON payloads. For any engineer capable of spinning up a Linux VPS for $5, handing over premium enterprise fees simply to route scheduled text to a server is financially absurd. The core product you are actually renting from these platforms is an illusion, a polished user interface layered directly over basic REST API routing. This UI abstraction traps your team into a cycle of recurring invoices and expensive per-seat licenses, all configured to execute a standard scheduled post request. When you remove the interface tax, the software licensing fee disappears, leaving you with only the raw compute cost of your own server. Engineering teams are bleeding budget not to access complex technological innovation, but simply to avoid building their own infrastructure abstraction. Vendor lock-in and restrictive per-seat pricing models create operational bottlenecks for large agency teams that the monthly invoice doesn't fully capture. Then you have to account for the security liability. Every time you schedule a post through a third-party scheduler, you pipe privileged OAuth tokens and proprietary client content through an external, unverified database. You introduce an unnecessary middleman, one fully capable of logging, reading, and potentially compromising a brand's messaging before it ever hits the timeline. TriPost serves as the open-source, self-hosted corrective to this architecture. It neutralizes third-party risk and restores absolute infrastructural control to your engineering team. Maintaining sovereign in-house control over your API keys and user data operates as a strict security imperative, making self-hosting the superior architectural choice. This displays TriPost's architecture, a central PHP Laravel 11 backend routing data to a front-end layer. Zooming in, Vue.js 3 and TypeScript power the visual calendar. Pulling back, the central stack connects outwardly to 10 distinct social network endpoints. Out of the box, the platform natively supports modern network integrations like Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky right alongside legacy platforms. The single Laravel backend shoulders the heavy lifting of normalizing the wildly varying JSON payload structures from those 10 disparate APIs into one unified database schema. Because of this strict normalization, the front-end visual calendar delivers an enterprise-grade experience comparable to proprietary tools, easily supporting full multi-client agency collaboration. Looking at the repository structure, the source code breaks down to specifically 63% PHP and 30% Vue. This pragmatic tech stack selection guarantees high maintainability and straightforward deployment on standard Linux environments, entirely sidestepping the need for specialized container orchestration. TriPost proves that a well-architected open-source monolith can definitively replace the core scheduling functionality of venture-backed SaaS platforms. Even the most efficient self-hosted scheduler suffers from a critical bottleneck. It still requires a human clicking around a graphical interface to build, queue, and deploy content. This system map illustrates TriPost's implementation of a native MCP server. Following the data flow, the local AI agent connects to the /mcp/TriPost endpoint, which wires straight into the backend API routing module, completely bypassing the Vue front end. Under this protocol, a local LLM like Claude can autonomously parse the exposed API parameters and format the required schedule request without relying on any fragile translation layers. You can instruct an AI agent in plain text to write a technical thread and schedule it across Twitter and LinkedIn. The /mcp TriPost server authenticates that agentic command and routes it natively to the social platforms at machine speed, requiring 0 human clicks. This agent-first, direct execution architecture replaces traditional automation methods that rely on brittle, headless browser scraping or messy Zapier webhook chains. By eliminating the UI barrier, TriPost functions as foundational backend infrastructure for fully autonomous marketing agents. The native MCT integration transforms a passive calendar tool into an active, programmatic extension of your local AI ecosystem. Trading subscription fees for self-hosting strips away the idealized view of open-source deployment, exposing a severe hidden labor cost where operations grind to a halt. The primary operational bottleneck falls entirely on your shoulders. You inherit the nightmare of manually acquiring and managing raw API keys for all 10 supported platforms. This form represents the acute friction of the Metagraph API app review process, which aggressively rejects unverified independent developer setups trying to connect to Facebook or Instagram. Twitter's highly restrictive developer portal poses a similar bureaucratic hurdle. Navigating this endless friction is exactly the service SaaS platforms normally charge you $100 a month to abstract away. You are also adopting a repository in its experimental infancy. TriPost currently holds only 40 stars on GitHub. A 40-star repository with few active contributors carries a severe risk of sudden abandonment, leaving you alone to patch future breaking API changes. The true cost of a free platform is trading straightforward financial expense for perpetual, grueling DevOps and API maintenance overhead. There is one final commercial limitation regarding the repository's legal framework. It operates under the Functional Source License, or FSL. The strict FSL constraint ensures you can legally self-host this stack to manage your own agency's clients, but you are strictly prohibited from white-labeling it to spin up a competing SaaS product. You have to weigh that commercial restriction against the massive technological leverage gained by possessing a private MCP-enabled automation engine. Will AI agents running on local MCP servers eventually bypass the need for centralized SaaS interfaces, or are we just shifting the maintenance burden from their servers directly to yours? If this saved you time, hit subscribe. We review open source tools like this every week, so you're always ahead. Now, if you liked this open source breakdown, you're going to love our review of N8N. The decision ultimately rests on what your engineering team values more: the uncompromised security of total infrastructural control, or the quiet luxury of paying someone else to maintain it. Choose your trade-offs wisely.